I accidentally told a queen nice ass, she said. Say it again. The sky was a soft purple, with two suns hanging lazily above the horizon, casting long, strange shadows across the city. The buildings were tall and sleek, made of a shimmering metal that reflected the sunlight like water. He had read about advanced civilizations in books and seen depictions in movies, but nothing could have prepared him for this. He adjusted his suit, feeling stiff and heavy in the alien air. As a junior diplomat from Earth, he had been trained in negotiation, manners, and etiquette, but now he felt like a child lost in a palace of giants. His mission was clear: meet Queen Selara, the ruler of Vyrlia, and discuss a trade and peace agreement. The stakes were high. If he failed, humanity might lose a valuable ally, or worse, invite hostility from one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. The city's streets were filled with beings of all shapes and sizes. Some had 4 arms, others had skin that shimmered with color changes, and a few had what looked like wings folded neatly along their backs. They all moved with grace and purpose, ignoring Jake's presence entirely. He felt small, ordinary, and strangely clumsy compared to the confidence in every Vyrlian step. "Keep calm, Jake," he whispered to himself. "Just remember your training. Speak clearly, be polite, don't embarrass yourself." A small hovercar, sleek and silent, arrived to take him to the palace. Jake climbed in and watched as the streets blurred beneath him. He tried to memorize every detail, the patterns of the roads, the architecture, the people, but his mind kept drifting. What if he said the wrong thing? What if he insulted the queen without knowing it? His stomach churned with nerves. When the car finally stopped in front of the palace, Jake's breath caught. The building was massive, rising hundreds of feet into the sky, with smooth walls that seemed to glow faintly. Guards, tall and muscular even by human standards, stood at every entrance, their eyes sharp and alert. The air around the palace had a strange energy, almost like it was alive. A door slid open, and a Vyrlian attendant appeared. She had silver skin that shimmered in the light and eyes that seemed to glow softly. Her movements were precise, almost like a dance. She bowed slightly and spoke in a melodic tone. "Welcome, Ambassador Morgan. Queen Selara awaits." Jake nodded and followed her inside. The hallway was long and wide, filled with tapestries that seemed to move, showing scenes of Vyrlia's history. He tried not to stare too openly, but his curiosity got the better of him. Each step echoed in the vast space, making him feel even smaller. Finally, they arrived at a grand chamber. The walls were made of the same glowing metal, and the ceiling stretched so high that he couldn't see the top. At the center, on a raised platform, sat Queen Selara. She was taller than any human he had ever seen, with a presence that made him want to bow instinctively. Her skin was a deep, pearlescent blue, and her eyes were sharp and intelligent. Her hair, long and silver, flowed like liquid light over her shoulders. She wore a robe that shimmered like the stars, and despite her regal appearance, there was a playful glint in her eyes. Jake swallowed hard and stepped forward. "Your Majesty," he began, trying to keep his voice steady, "I am honored to be here on behalf of Earth." Queen Selara's eyes studied him for a moment, tilting her head slightly. Then, to his surprise, she smiled. Not a formal smile, but a genuine, teasing one. "Sit, human," she said. "We have much to discuss." Jake hesitated, but then carefully lowered himself onto a chair across from her. He tried to focus, reminding himself that this was a formal meeting. He straightened his back and cleared his throat. For the next few minutes, they exchanged words about trade, peace, and mutual cooperation. Jake tried to use polite and careful language, avoiding any mistakes. Queen Selara listened, occasionally nodding, occasionally raising an eyebrow. Her voice was musical yet commanding, and Jake found himself distracted by the way she carried herself. There was power in her presence, but also a lightness, a charm that was hard to resist. Then, in a moment of foolishness, Jake tried to make a small joke to ease the tension. He wanted to sound relaxed, to show that humans could be casual and humorous, but his nerves made him speak without thinking. "Nice ass," he said. The room froze. Jake felt his stomach drop, realizing immediately that he had just said something that could end his mission, and possibly his life. He opened his mouth to apologize, to explain, but the words caught in his throat. For a long, tense moment, Queen Selara said nothing. She tilted her head, her eyes narrowing slightly. Jake braced himself for anger, for a dismissal, maybe even a punishment. He had read about alien rulers. Some could destroy intruders with a mere thought. Then, to his complete shock, she leaned forward, resting her elbows on her throne, and said, "Say it again." Jake blinked. Did she really just say that? A nice ass," he stammered, unsure if he had heard her correctly. Queen Solara laughed, a sound that was both deep and melodic, filling the chamber like music. The tension in the room vanished instantly. The guards relaxed slightly, and the attendants exchanged curious glances. Jake's face turned red, but he couldn't help a small, nervous laugh escaping him. "You are bold human," she said, still smiling. "Most would be terrified by my presence. You amuse me." Jake swallowed hard, trying to regain his composure. I didn't mean to offend your majesty. I was just trying to—" "Relax," she interrupted gently. "I understand. On Violia, we value honesty and courage, even if it comes in strange forms. You are unusual, but in a good way." Jake felt a mix of relief and confusion. He had accidentally insulted the queen, and somehow it had worked in his favor. He didn't fully understand how, but he knew this was the beginning of something extraordinary. The rest of the meeting continued, but now the atmosphere was different. Queen Solara asked him questions about Earth, about humans, about his experiences and ideas. Jake found himself talking openly, sharing stories and insights he had never imagined telling an alien queen. She listened intently, occasionally laughing or nodding, and Jake began to feel a strange sense of connection. When the meeting ended, Queen Solara stood and motioned for him to follow. She led him through a series of corridors and into a private garden within the palace. The garden was unlike anything Jake had seen: plants that glowed softly, streams that shimmered with liquid light, and strange creatures that moved silently through the air. "Most humans would not have the courage to speak as you did," she said, walking beside him. "Most would bow, apologize, or cower. You are different. I want to see more of this human audacity." Jake could hardly believe what he was hearing. "Thank you, your majesty. I don't know what to say." "Say nothing for now," she replied, smiling. "Just stay, learn, observe. You may find that you have more to teach us than you think." And with that, Jake Morgan realized that his mission on Violia would be unlike anything he had imagined. He had come as a diplomat, nervous and unsure, and now he found himself in a position that no human had ever held before, standing on equal ground with a queen who valued courage, honesty, and boldness above all else. He took a deep breath, looking around the glowing garden, and thought, maybe humans were not as small and weak as he had always believed. Maybe, just maybe, this world would see what Earth had always known, that courage, wit, and audacity could change the course of history. Jake Morgan could hardly sleep that night. Even in his small quarters within the Violian palace, his mind kept replaying the events of the day. The memory of Queen Solara's laugh, the way her eyes had sparkled, refused to leave him. It was not just her beauty that struck him, but the strength in her voice and presence. He had expected anger or dismissal, yet she had done something unexpected. She had made him feel respected. By morning, Jake was more nervous than ever. Today, he was to begin his training, as Solara had called it. He didn't know exactly what that meant. Was he going to learn the language better, study their customs, or was it something more dangerous? He followed the attendants down long corridors that seemed to twist and turn endlessly. Each hall was wider and taller than any human building he had ever seen. Soft lights glowed from the walls, and the floors were so smooth that his shoes made almost no sound. As they walked, he noticed Violian servants tending to plants that seemed to grow in midair, their roots floating like ribbons. "You will meet the Queen's instructors today," said one attendant in a soft voice. "They will guide you in understanding our ways." Jake nodded, unsure how to respond. He had no idea what to expect. Were these instructors warriors, diplomats, or scholars? And what did it have to do with him, a human with no combat experience? They arrived in a wide training hall. It was enormous, stretching so high that Jake could barely see the ceiling. At one end, Violian warriors practiced their skills. Some moved so fast that he could barely follow their motions. Others lifted enormous weights with ease, their muscles glistening in the soft light. The air was filled with the sound of metal clashing and low, rhythmic chants. A tall Violian approached him. She had skin that shimmered green, and her eyes were sharp and calculating. "I am Lyra," she said. "I will guide you in your training. Do not expect it to be easy, human." Jake swallowed hard. I will do my best," he said. Lyra's eyes softened slightly. "Good. You will need more than best. You will need courage, wit, and cleverness. Humans have something unique. Do not underestimate it, even when you feel weak. Jake followed Lyra as she led him through the hall. He watched as warriors trained in pairs, their movements precise and deadly. Every strike, every block, every kick seemed flawless. When they noticed him, some gave small nods, others barely acknowledged his presence. He felt like an outsider again, but Lyra's words stayed in his mind. "You will start with observation," she said. "Do not try to fight yet. Learn the patterns, watch carefully. You have something no one else has, unexpected thinking. Use it." Jake nodded, trying to focus. For hours, he observed the warriors. At first, it was overwhelming. The speed, the strength, the coordination, he could not imagine moving like that. But then he remembered Salara's words, courage and wit. He started thinking differently. Instead of trying to match their strength, he began noticing patterns in their movements, predicting attacks, and thinking of ways to create openings. After the morning session, Jake was exhausted. His legs ached, his arms felt weak, and his mind was buzzing. But he also felt a strange thrill. He realized that he was learning, even if slowly. He had never faced beings so strong, yet somehow he could find ways to make small advantages work. During a break, he sat under a glowing tree in the training hall's garden. The leaves emitted soft light, casting a calming glow over the area. He watched small creatures move among the plants, creatures that seemed almost like floating orbs of light. For a moment, he allowed himself to relax. Then Queen Salara appeared. She moved gracefully, her presence immediately commanding attention. She smiled at him. "You are learning faster than I expected," she said. Jake blinked, surprised. I'm trying, Your Majesty. It's difficult. They are so strong." Salara laughed softly. "Strength is not always the answer. Look at your own species. Humans survive not because they are the strongest, but because they are clever and resourceful. You must remember that. Use your mind as much as your body. Audacity is your weapon." Jake felt a surge of confidence. Hearing those words from the Queen herself made him believe that he could actually succeed. He wanted to impress her, to show that humans could be more than fragile creatures. The next few days passed in a blur of training and observation. Jake began learning not just the movements of the Virean warriors, but also their thinking. He noticed how they anticipated each other's attacks, how they relied on timing and rhythm. He tried simple drills, moving his body in ways that felt awkward and clumsy at first, but slowly he improved. One afternoon, Lyra brought him to a small practice arena. "Today you will try a simple spar," she said. "Do not fear, your opponent will guide you." Jake's heart raced as he saw a warrior step forward. The being was huge, easily twice his size, with muscles that bulged even under armor. The warrior's eyes were sharp and his movements were precise. Jake swallowed. I will try my best," he said. The warrior nodded. "Good. Remember, human, wit is stronger than brute force." The sparring began. At first, Jake was clumsy, moving too slowly, his reactions off. The warrior's strikes came fast, but Jake tried to focus on patterns rather than speed. He noticed a slight hesitation before a high kick. He ducked. He saw a moment when the warrior shifted weight and moved to the side, and he used that to step forward. It was not perfect. He was hit several times, and each time it hurt. But he also managed small successes, dodging, blocking, and even landing a light strike. The warrior nodded in approval. "You are learning," Lyra said, watching him closely. "You do not have their strength, but you have their attention, their curiosity, and their unpredictability. That is your power." Jake's confidence grew. He realized that being human did not make him weak. It gave him different advantages. He could think outside the rules of Virean combat. He could surprise them. And most importantly, he could survive. Later, during a quiet moment in the garden, Salara joined him again. She was watching him practice from a distance. "You move differently," she said. "Not like a Virean, but not poorly. You are interesting. Your kind may lack power, but you make up for it in ways we do not always see." Jake smiled. "Thank you, Your Majesty." "I am trying to understand your ways." Salara tilted her head, studying him. "You do more than understand, you adapt. That is why I keep you close. I want to see how far your kind can go." Jake felt a mix of pride and nervousness. The Queen's words were encouraging, but they also carried expectation. He knew he could not fail. Not here, not now. Over the next week, Jake's training became more challenging. He was asked to perform tasks that tested not just his body, but his mind. He had to solve puzzles under pressure, anticipate moves in simulated battles, and think of strategies that even Virean instructors admitted were clever. Each success brought small praise from Celara. Each mistake was met with guidance, not punishment. Through it all, Jake noticed that Celara seemed fascinated by him. She would watch his mistakes, laugh at his bold attempts, and occasionally give subtle hints that would help him improve. He realized that she was testing not just his skill, but his character. She wanted to know how humans thought, how they responded to pressure, and how far they could push boundaries. One evening, after a long day of drills and exercises, Jake sat in the palace garden, exhausted but exhilarated. Celara appeared quietly and sat beside him. The twin suns were setting, casting a warm glow over the plants and streams. "You have come far in a short time," she said softly. "Most humans would have given up, most would have been overwhelmed, but you adapt, you learn, you survive." Jake looked at her, feeling a mix of gratitude and curiosity. "Your Majesty, why do you take such an interest in me? I am just a human. I do not have strength like your warriors or skills like your generals." Celara smiled, a knowing, gentle smile. "That is exactly why, Jake. Strength is easy to recognize, but what is hidden, what is unexpected, that is far more valuable. Humans have a kind of audacity we admire. You take risks, speak boldly, and do not always follow the rules. That makes you dangerous in the best way." Jake felt his chest swell with pride. He had come to Virlia thinking he was small, weak, and insignificant. Now he realized that he had something unique, something that could earn respect even from a queen. As night fell and the lights of the palace glowed softly around them, Jake made a quiet promise to himself. He would continue to learn, he would continue to grow, and he would show the Virlians and Queen Celara that humanity was not to be underestimated. He had no idea what challenges lay ahead, but for the first time in his life, Jake Morgan felt ready. Jake Morgan woke early that morning, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. Today was different. Celara had told him he would face his first real challenge. It was not a test of observation or simple practice. It was a test of skill, courage, and cleverness. The thought made his stomach twist. He had been learning for weeks, but this was the moment he would find out if he could actually survive in a world of beings far stronger and faster than himself. He dressed quickly in the simple training clothes provided for him. They were lightweight and flexible, unlike the heavy suit he wore when meeting dignitaries. Lyra appeared at the door of his quarters. Her silver-green eyes were sharp, but she smiled faintly. "Are you ready, human?" she asked. I think so," Jake said, trying to sound confident. "I hope I can do this." "You will do more than hope," she said. "You will act. Remember, your strength is not in muscle, but in your mind and courage. Use what you have learned. Survive by thinking differently." Jake nodded. He followed Lyra through the palace corridors, past glowing plants and streams of soft light. They entered a large arena that was far bigger than the practice hall. The floor was smooth and polished, and the walls seemed to stretch into the sky. At the far end, several Virlian warriors waited. They were tall, muscular, and radiated strength. Each wore a light armor that shimmered slightly, and each held a training weapon in their hands. "This is your challenge," Lyra said, stopping behind him. "You will face 3 warriors in sequence. You will not match them in strength or speed. Your task is to survive and find openings. Use your wit, your observation, and your courage. Remember, audacity can be stronger than power." Jake's heart raced. 3 warriors. He had never fought like this before. His muscles ached from training, and he was still small compared to them. But he remembered Celara's words. Human audacity could be a weapon. He took a deep breath and nodded. The first warrior stepped forward. He was tall, with dark green skin that shimmered in the light. He swung a long staff in a wide arc, testing Jake's reflexes. Jake stepped back quickly, narrowly avoiding the strike. He noticed the warrior shifted his weight before each swing, and he began to predict the movements. The fight was fast. Jake ducked, sidestepped, and occasionally lunged forward to strike at weak points he saw. He did not have power, but he had speed, thought, and unpredictability. After several minutes, the warrior nodded and stepped back, signaling that Jake had survived the first round. Jake breathed heavily, wiping sweat from his brow. Lyra stepped forward. "Well done. You are learning to read them, to notice openings. That is key. You are ready for the next." The second warrior was larger and wore a slightly heavier armor. He moved slower, but each strike carried more force. Jake felt the difference immediately. He had to dodge more carefully, and his attacks barely touched the armored opponent. He remembered something Lyra had taught him: use the environment. Jake darted to the side, moving behind a set of glowing pillars. The warrior swung, hitting nothing but air. Jake used the brief distraction to get close, targeting a joint in the armor. He struck lightly, just enough to make the warrior pause, then moved away again. Minutes passed, and Jake's body ached, but he kept thinking, analyzing, predicting. Finally, the second warrior nodded, impressed. "You survive again, human," he said. Jake's confidence grew. He realized that the Violians respected skill, not just strength. Even though he was smaller and weaker, his cleverness allowed him to compete. Lyra smiled. "You see. You are learning faster than many would expect. Audacity and thought will keep you alive." The third warrior was the most challenging. He was tall, muscular, and his movements were lightning fast. Each attack was precise, and Jake could see why Solara considered him the best among the young warriors. Jake's first instinct was to panic, but he forced himself to breathe. He remembered all he had learned: observation, prediction, using the environment and thinking creatively. He could not fight like the warrior, but he could outthink him. The duel began. The warrior attacked quickly, swinging a blade that glowed faintly. Jake dodged and jumped, feeling the rush of air as the weapon passed. He noticed the rhythm of the strikes and started moving unpredictably, weaving between attacks. He used the pillars and walls to his advantage, forcing the warrior to adjust his moves. At one moment, Jake tripped slightly, and the warrior advanced. Jake rolled forward, narrowly avoiding a strike that could have injured him badly. He felt fear, but he also felt alive. His mind raced. He remembered a small, weak spot in the warrior's armor near the shoulder. Timing his move perfectly, he struck that spot lightly and immediately moved away. The warrior paused, surprised. Jake's heart pounded, but he realized something important. He was learning more than survival. He was learning respect. The warriors respected his courage, his cleverness, his refusal to give up. That was something even the strongest of them could not achieve by power alone. After several intense minutes, the third warrior stepped back, nodding. "You have skill, human. You survive because you think differently. That is rare. That is dangerous." Jake collapsed to the ground, exhausted but exhilarated. He had survived the challenge. He had faced 3 warriors, each stronger and faster than him, and he had lived. Lyra approached, her eyes softening. "Well done, Jake. You have proven what I have been telling you: strength is not everything. Observation, courage, and cleverness can overcome what seems impossible. You are growing, human. Keep going, and you will surprise many." Jake tried to speak, but only managed a breathless, "Thank you, Lyra. I didn't think I could do it." "You did," she said simply. "And that is why you are here. Solara believes in you. I believe in you. Now it is time for the next lesson." The rest of the day was filled with more drills, but now Jake noticed a change in himself. He moved with more confidence, made quicker decisions, and felt less afraid of failure. He began to understand that surviving on Violia was not about strength. It was about using every advantage, no matter how small, and being bold enough to take risks. That evening, as Jake sat in the garden recovering, Solara appeared again. She moved silently, sitting beside him on a stone bench. The twin suns were setting, casting a purple and gold glow across the streams and plants. "You have done well today, Jake," she said. "I have watched your progress, and I am impressed. You face beings far stronger than yourself, and yet you survive. You adapt, you learn, and you do not give up. That is remarkable." Jake smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. "Thank you, Your Majesty. It was hard, but I think I am beginning to understand." Solara tilted her head, her eyes sharp yet gentle. "Understanding is one thing, doing is another. You have begun to do both. That is why you are valuable. Your kind is small, fragile, and weak compared to us. But you have something else: courage, audacity, and cleverness. That can change everything." Jake's mind swirled with her words. He had come to Violia expecting to be insignificant, a small human lost among giants. But now he realized something profound. Humans had a kind of power that others did not see. It was not in muscle, claws, or speed. It was in the mind, in daring, in the will to face impossible odds and still act. As night fell, Jake felt a quiet determination grow within him. He would continue to train, to learn, and to grow. He would show Solara and the Violians that humans were not weak, that they could face challenges no one expected them to survive. And he would prove, through action, that audacity could be the greatest weapon of all. The stars began to shine in the purple sky, and Jake looked up, thinking of Earth, of his family, and of the people he represented. He realized that he was not just training for himself. He was training for humanity. for the day when humans would stand not as small, fragile creatures, but as beings who could challenge the greatest in the galaxy. And for the first time, Jake Morgan truly believed that he could do it. Jake Morgan woke to the sound of alarms echoing through the palace corridors. His stomach tightened as he realized that something serious was happening. He jumped out of bed, still half asleep, and grabbed the light armor and training tools he had been using in practice. Lyra appeared in his quarters within moments. Her face was serious, her eyes sharp. Jake, something is happening. A rival faction has attempted a coup. They are trying to take control of the palace and the city. Queen Celara is safe for now, but the situation is dangerous. You must be ready to act. Jake's heart pounded. He had trained, he had learned, but this was real. This was not practice. This was life and death. What can I do? He asked, his voice trembling slightly. You will help, Lyra said firmly. Your task is to use your skills to protect the queen and outthink the enemy. Do not try to match them in strength. Use your mind, your observation, your courage. You are human. That is your weapon. Jake nodded, swallowing his fear. He followed Lyra through the palace corridors, moving quickly and quietly. The hallways were chaotic now, filled with guards rushing to defend key points and alarms flashing along the walls. When they reached the main courtyard, Jake saw the enemy forces for the first time. They were Violians as well, but these were rogue warriors loyal to the rival faction. They were well-trained, well-armed, and dangerous. Jake's stomach sank. Each of them was stronger and faster than he could ever hope to be. Lyra turned to him. Jake, you will go with a small group to block their advance here. Do not try to fight them head-on. Use your mind. Think of ways to confuse, delay, and trap them. That is how humans survive when faced with danger. Jake swallowed hard. He could do this. He had trained for moments like this. He remembered all the lessons Celara and Lyra had taught him: observation, cleverness, unpredictability, audacity. That could be his advantage. He moved with the group, hiding behind pillars and walls, waiting for the right moment. The enemy warriors advanced cautiously, expecting the defenders to strike. Jake noticed patterns in their movements, small tells before each attack, slight pauses, ways they reacted to each other. He began planning quickly, using everything around him. When the first enemy warrior appeared, Jake used a small pillar to distract him. He threw a light object, which made a noise and drew the warrior's attention. The warrior turned, just as Jake darted behind him, striking a weak spot in the armor. It was not a strong hit, but it caused the warrior to stumble, giving the guards behind him a chance to strike. Jake's heart raced. It was working. His plan, his observation, his audacity, it all worked. He moved quickly, using every opening, predicting attacks, and helping the guards slow the enemy advance. The next wave of warriors arrived. They were bigger, faster, more dangerous. Jake could feel his strength failing, but he reminded himself he did not have to be stronger. He had to be clever. He ran through the courtyard, using small walls and pillars for cover. He noticed that the enemies reacted the same way when moving in formation. He used that knowledge, leading them into traps the defenders had prepared. Small nets dropped from above, barriers swung into place, and the rogue warriors found themselves trapped or slowed. Lyra watched him from the side, impressed. You are doing well, Jake. Keep thinking, keep moving. Your mind is stronger than their strength. Jake nodded, sweat dripping from his face. He felt fear, but he also felt exhilaration. This was what he had trained for. He had survived practice, learned to move with the warriors, and now he was using everything he had learned in real battle. The final wave approached. These warriors were the elite of the rogue faction. They moved with deadly precision, expecting to overpower the human and his small group of defenders. Jake's heart pounded in his chest. He knew he could not fight them directly. He had to use strategy. He noticed a narrow passage between two walls. If he could lure the warriors there, they would have to move single file, and their strength would count for less. Jake led them with careful steps, pretending to retreat while keeping their attention. The elite warriors followed, confident that the human was no match for them. When they reached the passage, Jake gave a quick signal. Barriers swung down from above, trapping the enemy inside the narrow corridor. The defenders moved in from both ends, forcing the rogue warriors to retreat or surrender. Jake's plan worked perfectly. Queen Celara appeared in the courtyard, her presence commanding attention. She moved quickly, helping coordinate the remaining defenders. When the battle ended, she walked directly to Jake, her eyes sharp and filled with approval. You did well, human, she said. You faced beings far stronger than yourself, and you used your mind and courage to turn the situation in our favor. That is remarkable. Jake breathed heavily, feeling both exhaustion and pride. Thank you, Your Majesty. I only did what I could. Solara smiled, a rare, warm smile. What you did was more than enough. You have shown that humans are not weak. You have shown that courage and cleverness can overcome strength. That is a lesson many forget too easily. The aftermath of the battle was tense. The palace was damaged, but the queen was safe. The rogue faction had retreated, and the city was secure again. Jake walked through the halls, helping where he could, noticing for the first time that some Virelians looked at him with respect. They had seen a human survive when most would have failed. That evening, as the sun set and the sky turned deep purple, Solara called Jake to the palace garden. The air was quiet now, and the glowing plants gave the area a soft, magical light. She sat beside him on a bench, her eyes studying him carefully. You have done more than survive today, she said. You have shown that your kind has value in ways that strength alone cannot measure. You are clever, brave, and audacious. These are the qualities that make humans special. Jake felt a warmth in his chest. He had trained hard, but he had never expected to be praised like this. Your Majesty, I only did what I thought was right. I was scared, but I tried to act. That is exactly why it worked, Solara said. Courage under fear is rare. Few beings can face danger and still act with thought and precision. You are one of them. Jake looked around at the garden, feeling a quiet pride. He had come to Virelia thinking he was small, weak, and insignificant. Now he realized that he had something unique. He had survived, learned, and even impressed a queen. Over the next few days, life in the palace returned to normal, but Jake noticed subtle changes. The warriors no longer ignored him. They nodded in acknowledgement, sometimes even offering brief words of respect. He was no longer just a human visitor. He was a part of their world, someone they could rely on. Solara continued to guide him, teaching more about Virelian culture, politics, and strategy. Jake learned how decisions were made, how leaders thought, and how humans could use creativity and unpredictability as tools. He realized that every action, every choice, every small, clever move could make a difference. One afternoon, as Jake practiced with Lyra in the courtyard, she paused and said, "You are improving, Jake. You are not just surviving, you are learning to lead, to think ahead, to use your unique qualities. That is rare among humans and rare among Virelians. You are becoming remarkable." Jake smiled, feeling both proud and determined. "I will keep learning, Lyra. I want to be ready for anything." "You will be," she said, nodding. "And one day you will show even Queen Solara that humans are not to be underestimated. Remember this, courage, audacity, and thought are more powerful than muscle. Never forget it." That night, Jake sat alone in his quarters, reflecting on the events of the day. He thought about the battle, the challenges, and the lessons he had learned. He realized that he had grown not just in skill, but in confidence. He was no longer a nervous human lost among giants. He was a survivor, a thinker, and someone who could make a difference. As he looked out over the glowing city of Virelia, Jake made a silent promise to himself. He would continue to grow, to learn, and to prove that humanity was not weak. He would show that audacity, courage, and cleverness could change the course of events, even in a world full of beings far stronger than himself. And for the first time, Jake Morgan felt that he was truly ready for whatever came next. Jake Morgan woke before dawn. The air in the palace felt different today, charged with quiet energy. Word had spread of his role in defending the palace against the rogue faction, and he could feel that something significant was about to happen. Solara had asked him to prepare for an important meeting, a council of the Virelian leaders and advisors, to decide how to strengthen the alliance with Earth and prevent future threats. Jake dressed carefully, putting on the light armor he had grown used to, and checked his small bag of tools and notes. He could feel his heart racing. He had faced training, he had faced warriors, he had survived a real battle, but now he would step into a council of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. His mind reminded him to stay calm, think clearly, and trust what he had learned. Lyra met him at the corridor. Her eyes were sharp, but her smile was small, showing her approval. "Today is not a fight of strength," she said. "It is a test of your mind, courage, and presence. You are ready, Jake. Remember, humans have a kind of power that others do not expect. Use it." Jake nodded, taking a deep breath. He followed her to the council hall. The doors were enormous, sliding open to reveal a vast chamber. Rows of Virelian leaders sat in circular formation, their expressions serious. Many of them had heard of Jake's actions during the coup. Some looked at him with curiosity, some with doubt, and a few with respect. Celara sat at the head of the hall. Her presence filled the room. She looked at Jake and gave a small nod of encouragement. "Ambassador Morgan," she said, her voice calm and commanding, "today you will speak for humanity, share your ideas, show what humans can contribute to Virelia and the galaxy." Jake swallowed, feeling the weight of the moment. He stepped forward, raising his voice clearly. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he began. "Leaders of Virelia, I come from a world that is smaller and weaker than yours. We do not have the strength of your warriors or the power of your machines. But humans have something important: creativity, courage, and the ability to think differently. These qualities can help prevent conflict, solve problems, and protect both our worlds." A few leaders murmured, skeptical. One of them, a tall, blue-skinned Virelian named Talais, spoke first. "And how human can we trust your kind? You are fragile, you lack our power." Jake met his gaze. "You saw what humans can do," he said calmly. "Even when we are smaller or weaker, we can outthink stronger opponents. We survived the attack on the palace not by brute force, but by using courage, planning, and clever strategies. That is how humans succeed. We find ways to survive and help others. That is what I bring to this council." Celara nodded approvingly. "He speaks the truth," she said. "This human has faced challenges that many of my own warriors could not. He has proven that audacity and clever thinking can be more powerful than strength alone." Jake continued, gaining confidence. "I suggest that we create a system where humans can contribute ideas and strategies in situations where strength alone is not enough. We can act as advisors, planners, and observers. Our ingenuity can complement your strength and experience. Together, we can prevent conflicts before they happen and protect all of our worlds." There was a long silence. The leaders exchanged glances, thinking through his words. Then slowly, Talais spoke again. "Your words are bold, human. They are unusual. But we have seen what you can do. Perhaps your kind is more capable than we imagined." Other leaders nodded. They asked questions, and Jake answered with calm, clear explanations. He spoke of Earth's history, of human adaptability, and of lessons learned from past conflicts. He emphasized cooperation, clever strategies, and the importance of courage in all beings. By the end of the council, Jake had won their respect. The leaders agreed to a plan that included humans in strategic advisory roles. Celara smiled proudly. Jake could feel the weight of the moment sinking in. Humanity, through him, had gained recognition and respect in a galaxy that had long underestimated them. After the council, Celara led Jake to a private chamber in the palace. She moved with her usual grace, but her eyes held warmth and admiration. "Jake," she said softly, "you have done more than I expected. You have shown what humans can achieve when they face challenges without fear. You are remarkable." Jake felt his chest swell with pride, but he stayed humble. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only did what I could. I wanted to prove that humans are not weak." Celara smiled. "You have proven it. And more than that, you have shown us that courage, audacity, and cleverness are qualities worth valuing, no matter the size or strength of the being who possesses them." That night, the palace garden was quiet. The twin suns had set, leaving the sky glowing with stars. Jake and Celara walked among the glowing plants, the streams reflecting soft light. For a moment, the chaos and danger of the past days felt far away. "You have changed many minds today," Celara said, "not just among the leaders, but among my people. They will speak of your actions for years to come." Jake looked at her, feeling a mixture of pride and humility. "I never imagined that humans could be seen this way," he said. "I just wanted to survive and help. I didn't expect to make a difference like this." Celara stopped walking and turned to face him. Her eyes were serious but gentle. "You have made a difference, Jake. You have reminded us that strength is not everything, that even a small being can change the course of events. That lesson is more valuable than any weapon or army." Jake smiled, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. "I will continue to prove that humans can contribute. I want to show that we are more than what we seem." Celara studied him for a long moment, then laughed softly. "Bold words, human, I like that, and audacious words suit you well." For the first time, Jake felt truly equal to the Queen. He realized that his journey had changed him, just as he had changed the way the Virelians saw humans. He had started as a nervous diplomat, unsure of himself and afraid of failure. Now he was confident, capable, and respected. Over the next few weeks, Jake continued to work closely with Solara and her advisors. He helped design strategies, plan defenses, and solve problems that required clever thinking rather than brute force. He became a trusted member of her inner circle, a human who had earned a place among the greatest minds in the galaxy. He also grew closer to Solara. Their relationship was built on mutual respect and admiration. She valued his courage and audacity, and he respected her wisdom and strength. Sometimes, when they spoke privately, they laughed about the first meeting when he had accidentally said the wrong words. It had started awkwardly, but it had become the beginning of an extraordinary bond. One evening, as they watched the stars from the palace balcony, Solara spoke quietly. "Jake, your presence here has changed not just the council, not just the palace, but the way Virelians see humans. You have shown us that your kind is not weak, that you have strength of mind and spirit. That is remarkable." Jake looked at the stars and then at her. "I didn't do it alone, Your Majesty. I had guidance and I had to learn quickly. But yes, I want humanity to be seen differently. I want people to know that we are capable of more than they imagine." Solara smiled, a soft, approving smile. "And now they will know. You have done what many thought impossible. You have made humans respected in the galaxy." Jake felt a sense of quiet triumph. All the training, the mistakes, the fear, and the courage had led to this moment. Humanity, through him, had earned its place. Not through strength, but through audacity, cleverness, and the will to survive and adapt. As the night deepened, Jake realized that his journey was far from over. There would be more challenges, more battles of mind and courage, but he was ready. He had learned, he had grown, and he had proven that humans could stand among the strongest beings in the galaxy. For the first time, Jake Morgan felt that the galaxy had truly seen humanity, and he knew that this was only the beginning. He had come to Virelia as a simple diplomat, unsure and nervous. He had faced challenges, survived dangers, and learned to use his audacity as a weapon. He had earned the respect of a queen, the admiration of warriors, and the recognition of leaders. Humanity had a new place in the galaxy, and Jake had led the way. As he looked at Solara, smiling beside him under the starry sky, he thought of the first words he had ever spoken to her. They had been foolish, awkward, and bold, and somehow they had set everything in motion. "Nice ass," he whispered to himself, remembering. Solara laughed softly as if she had heard him. "Say it again," she said, teasing him. Jake smiled, feeling the audacity of humans shine brightly. He could not have imagined a better ending or beginning to his journey. The galaxy had underestimated humanity. Now it would never do so again.